What are you doing?
Cleaned up. Hey, how you doing?
Oh, we couldn't find you.
You couldn't find me.
Looking all over for you.
I am here.
What are you working on over here? What is this?
Look at the side. You see the side's all cleaned up. And I've taken all the leaves off the off the tree so that no more leaves fall down. You see?
See what you were doing over here. What were you doing over here?
Same thing, picking up the leaves. Just cleaning up over.
Oh, yeah, you got quite a collection in there.
See? All this nice and so it gets nice and clean. That means, you know what it means?
What does it mean?
It means that all winter long the leaves will not all around the whole yard. You see? That's what it means.
Well, that's exciting.
It is exciting.
So, you got a couple of minutes for us?
Sure. You ready to go up?
Well, what do you want to do, inside or outside? Where do you want to have your interview?
Oh God, get Ginge first.
No.
Because I want to finish up over here. I got about 5-10 minutes more. Look how nice the bushes are, right? Yeah, I mean, come on. Look at nice. Isn't that great? Let's just cut them down a little bit more too. All right, I have to trim that big bush over there. You gotta admit, do you remember how? You remember this one too? Eh?
Oh, that was big.
And look at that one over there. And next one. In fact, the only one left, Michael, is right there. And I cut everything down. This one down, this one down. Unbelievable. So much to cut. But as you notice, if you look all along the border, you can see no leaves. That means last year I had 1 million leaves floating all around the yard every time because they'd blow from this side to this side.
The leaves are no longer a problem here.
Of course. No longer a problem. This year I decided, no, I rake them all. I don't leave any leaves on the ground. I rake them all. It's a good idea, right, Pal?
Oh, unbelievable.
And you follow me out all the way in?
Well, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're at home with Anthony J. Semeka here.
All right, let's go. Look at that collection of leaves, right?
Unbelievable. It's incredible.
It's incredible, isn't it? Oh, God.
Now where are we?
We're in the downstairs kitchen. We are going up. And we don't have to worry about making noise. Billy's not home, I don't think. No automobile, therefore he won't be home. We've got This Is Your Life camera.
Okay, go right ahead. Don't let me interfere with you. Because I got a backache so bad. I have no idea.
Have a seat.
This Is Your Life crew.
Try it.
Oh.
Nice table.
Oh, you got the color version on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got the color version too. I didn't think anybody else had it. Well, this must be TV, right?
Good old Thanksgiving Day. You know it's Thanksgiving Day
Of course.
when you have...
I was going to play it too. Yeah. It's great. Here's your watch. Now look at that face on that guy.
Well, here we are at home with Anthony J. Semeka.
And company.
Hey, what?
And company. Mr. Grasshopper just left, huh?
Mm-hmm. Have a sit.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait. That's why I come in here and get my hands a little warm again. Oh, boy. 15 minutes out there, Michael, and your hands feel it. So, what's on the agenda?
Well, we're going to just ask you a couple questions. Well, we're just going to see if we can learn you here.
Learn what? What is that you would like to...
Well, things that we just don't know about you.
No. I think the point better you don't know.
Well, you know, you're the one that can say what you want to say. Well, we'll start out with, what's your full name?
Full name, Anthony J. Semeka. J for John.
Okay, and when and where were you born?
I was born in New York Street,
What street?
39th Street, between, right off 9th Avenue, between 9th and 10th Avenue,
On what street?
on 39th Street,
On 39th Street.
39th Street.
That's where you were born, in the house itself?
I was born, that's right, with as far as I understand, a midwife delivered me.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
How much did you weigh? Do you remember?
I don't remember, no. But I was delivered by a midwife. And I was the second child.
So do you know the house, the exact house you were born in?
Oh,
Is it-
sure, 439th Street. I've seen it there many times. As a matter of fact,
Wait do you mean 439th Street?
439 West 39th Street.
Wow, 39 and 39, huh?
That's right. And I remember it so clearly. I still have the front of that whole facade of that building very clearly in my mind.
Really?
Absolutely.
How long were you there for?
Well, not that because I remember being born there, is because I knew I guess I must have been about 7 or 8 or 9 or something like that when we moved to 447 West 46th Street,
All in New York.
all in New York, between 9th and 10th Avenue. I understand anywhere from that period we lived for a very brief time, like a year or two, to an apartment 430 West 39th Street for a couple of years. But I don't remember that. I do remember that somewhat. I remember sitting out the front fire escape, watching them play stickball, the big guys.
Stickball, now there's something we can get into a little later on.
And punch ball.
Punch ball, what the heck's that?
Well, instead of using a bat, you're up there and you use your fist, your hand.
And what kind of ball do you
And
use?
it's Spalding.
Regular tennis ball, Spalding?
No, a tennis ball is not a Spalding.
Oh, Spalding, that rubber thing.
That's right. What happens, you throw the ball on a bounce to the
Batter.
batter, and with your fist, you run up 1 or 2 steps and you hit it.
What part of your fist did you hit it with?
Right there.
Really? Ground balls, fly balls, caught them out, same
Well,
thing?
anything you want, yes. Anything off the buildings, if you caught it on the fly, was out.
Did you have to run or did you have designated
Yeah,
airplane?
run first, second, third, same thing. Played by sewers as being anything on the sidewalk was designated first and third. And the very next sewer, you batted from a sewer, that was home plate, was considered second base.
Huh.
In between sewers was home and second, and on the sidewalk, a designated area, roughly about 50, 55 feet, was first and third.
That's very neat.
Wasn't that?
So now how long did you live there now? When did you move again?
And when, as I said, from there, from the apartment where I was born, we lived very briefly at this other place on the same street, only across the street. And that was just for a couple of years. But I do remember. But I guess in order to remember it, I must have been somewhere around 4, 5, or 6 there.
So you lived in 3 places by the time you were 4, 5, or 6? Cause you just said you lived there 7 years. This one place.
I lived 447 West 46th Street, the most. That's where we moved to.
How many years were you there? Do you think?
447. I got married out of there. Got married out of there. My wife and I got married out of the apartment.
1947.
Oh, well, we're gonna find out more about this. I'm real curious about all this.
1947.
Wow.
Ginger and I got married and I lived at that apartment while she resided at Nesbitt, Queens.
So when was your birthday now? January 27th, 1923, I believe.
1933.
1933.
Right.
You lying sack of shit.
And what else? What else? No, that's the truth. What else?
19.
Everybody. What else?
Well,
What else did
He
I
used to be
say?
a disc jockey at Hartley Farm,
Oh, no, that's right.
what was that?
in Hartley House.
Now wait a minute, you're jumping a bunch of years. Let's go back as you was a child. What's your fondest memory you had as a child?
I guess what she said,
As a child.
playing, well, you're talking about as a real child?
Child, yes.
As a real child, my happiest memories, okay. When we lived at 430 West 39th Street, right next to it was a playground, okay? Schermerhorn was the name of the playground. And from there, I was very, very adept in checkers. I was very, very adept in ping pong. That's where I got my schooling. Okay? And from there, believe it or not, I appeared in a few national tournaments, New York tournaments, sorry, not national, New York tournaments, of which I once won a championship for checkers, and I won the ping pong championship 3 times.
What'd you win?
You win a medal or something. You win.
What about that one thing that goes boing, 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 boing?
That was the...
What is that thing? What does that look like
Okay.
again?
I guess I must have been about 14 years old, and again, the same locale. Up the corner on 10th Avenue was a movie house. And the movie house used to feature all the movies, and of course on a Saturday afternoon was the best, the matinee was the best, because they showed a double feature, plus a serial, a chapter.
All for a nickel.
All for a nickel, exactly right. And every once in a while they would run contests, okay? And so this particular time they ran a contest with the paddle ball and the rubber, okay? And the question was 15 to 20 guys would line up on a stage. They'd each get their paddle and so forth, and then they would be told when to start, and the last one remaining, of course the others having missed someplace along the line, hitting the little rubber ball on.
It's like the dancing contest when you get tapped on the shoulder. The last one left is the winner.
There you get off.
There you go.
I appeared on that stage and I won a bicycle.
Well, how valuable was a nickel back then?
How valuable was a nickel? Well, let's put it this way. For a nickel, you can go into almost any, well, today they're like McDonald's, okay? You can go to any place that sold frankfurters and potato knishes, and for a nickel you can buy a frankfurter or a knish and get absolutely free a 12-ounce mug of root beer, free. So that was, many a time that was the treat that I used to
So was a nickel hard to come by back then, or was it easy to come by?
No, when you worked for 14 cents an hour, a nickel was pretty good, okay? So it was a lot of money.
Because I remember you telling me how you used to sneak into the movie theaters between these fans.
That was easy.
Yeah, but if these fans went on, you wouldn't be here for this interview right now.
If you were, if I what?
Those fans went on. Because I hear you went through Blades or something like that.
Those, the simplest way to get into a movie house, of course, if you were there when a movie was breaking, all you had to do, there was a bunch of doors, and all you had to do was, as the doors were open, you stay by the door, and as the people came out, all you had to do was sneak inside the people, as they were coming out, sneak right inside, and you were in the movie house. But if you went there while the movie was on, midway through, the doors were absolutely shut, then you had to use either 2 of the back doors, which were sometimes open, or the vent right above the doors, which was for air conditioning or whatever.
Now does this vent have a fan in it?
These were vents, the fans were at the other end.
Oh, so the vent, so it wasn't like you had to walk between the blades.
No, you don't walk between, who would walk between?
The ductwork.
Jeez, I thought Anthony walked between the blades, Ginge.
It was ductwork, it was ductwork.
Okay, so your fondest memory was winning the bicycle for doing the dinga, or winning the checkers, or winning the,
I guess my finest thing was the ping pong, for having won so many times, having developed a name for myself.
Well, where are these medals? These little awards?
God, who knows? Who knows?
What's your saddest...
Just like all my bowling trophies, which I used to have downstairs, until my son came and decided that they were better suited up in the attic someplace.
Well, at least they're safe.
I don't know.
No man walks up in that attic, Anthony.
I don't know what had happened to him, I'll tell you the truth.
What's your saddest memory as a child?
My saddest memory as a child.
Your closing salute.
Yeah, I happened to, my uncle, my father and his older brother came here from Italy. I guess my father was about 16 or 17 or 18, I don't know, and my uncle, as I said, was a year or 2 older, and they, of course, they lived together all the time. In other words, anytime they found, when they first got, as soon as when they both got married, they both decided that they were going to live together all the time. So that meant that any time one found an apartment, there had to be at least another vacant apartment in that building, otherwise they wouldn't move. And so eventually they found one, and they both had each one of them had their own apartment, and of course they had children. We were 3 or 4. I lost my brother. I think 16, 18 months old he was to pneumonia, and he would have been younger than me, but older than my youngest brother, Sam. And my uncle had 2 boys and 2 girls. We had three lived. My uncle had 2 boys and 2 girls, all lived, and one of the boys had epileptic fits.
Epileptic.
And I guess best way to describe it is that we could be talking just like you and I, and then all of a sudden he would get a seizure, and he would just go crazy. And most of the time he would fall down, and on his back he would be going through a lot of gyrations and movements, and that was very frightening to see. And I guess...
Now, what happened to your father's brother? His name was Phil also?
My father's brother was Andrew.
Was Andrew, just like your brother?
Andrew, Andrea.
That was your brother's name who died, right?
The one who died, right. It was Andrea. And I guess he lived until he was about, I guess, about 19 or 20? He had one seizure too many and passed away. And I guess that's my favorite.
This was your nephew now?
Cousin.
I mean cousin.
First cousin.
Now what happened to your grandfather's brother now, Philip? Wait, your grandfather's brother that came here with him?
Andrew.
Andrew.
That was his name?
Sunday, yeah. He
That's
lived
Andrew.
on the same building, 447.
This is my uncle, my father's brother. They're the two that...
Where did he live?
As I just said, they both made sure they found apartments together.
So what happened to Andrew? Now he had seizures? This guy's the one that had seizures? Or was his
No,
son?
his son.
That's what I thought. So I'm asking you, what happened to Andrew? What happened to your father's brother? Whatever.
My father's brother, my uncle, we lived together. They were alive. They were at our wedding. We lived together for, as I said, in the same apartment house. We had our apartment, they had apartment, always together. I think very briefly they moved to New Jersey. I must have been, a good guess, about 10 years old when we moved to Jersey for a little while. And then back to New York. And I guess we moved to New Jersey from the 430 West 39th Street to New Jersey for a couple of years, and then we came to where Ginger and I got married, the house, 447 West 46th Street.
What happened to Andrew, your Uncle Andrew?
My Uncle Andrew was fine. As I said, he was at our wedding.
Okay.
Okay, but eventually, just like my father passed away, my uncle passed away first.
When?
My uncle passed away first, I would say about 10 years before my father. That would be a rough guess.
Because I don't remember him.
No, that's why you wouldn't.
And what about his kids? What are his kids?
Mary is doing very well. Mary, funny thing is, and this is funny. I mean, it's like when we moved to 447 West 46th Street, where we got married.
West 46th Street or West 47th Street?
No, 46th.
447 West 46.
447 West 46th Street. My father, my mother. My father found an apartment. There was a 3-story apartment building. My father found. And my uncle found this house, and my father took the 2nd floor apartment. My uncle took the 3rd floor apartment. From my uncle's side, my cousin Mary.
His daughter.
Right. My cousin
One of 2 girls, and there's 2 girls and 2
got
boys.
married, and they found an apartment in that same building, believe it or not, underneath. On the 1st floor, underneath where we lived, on the 2nd floor.
Huh.
The apartments each floor had 2 apartments, right and left, right and left, right and left, okay? So My uncle being on the third floor on the left, we were on the second floor on the right, and my cousin Mary found the apartment on the first floor on the right.
Okay.
Okay, and that's again, at that time is where my wife and I got married.
Where is Mary now? Do you have any idea?
Mary is now in Jersey.
And how about the other kids?
She had
Raiders in California.
she had 2 kids, right, Vee?
Yeah, Richie and Philip.
What's Mary's last name
No,
now?
Mary's kids is
Mary
I know my
was
sweetheart.
Angela and Joey.
My
Mary what?
sweetheart- My sweetheart.
Robustelli.
Robustelli.
Yeah, and my sweetheart Angela,
This is Gotcha.
my godchild, still lives in Jersey now. She has
2 girls.
2 girls of her own. She is the one that I've been asking you, if we get a chance, I would love to take a ride to New Jersey to see her.
That's your cousin's daughter, right?
That
Yeah.
is my cousin's daughter. Right?
Okay, we're getting it now.
I
All right.
think we still have the beautiful letter that's been in this house, I guess,
So
for
now there's
3 or 4 years from her.
so now there's 2 boys also now.
And Joey,
One was Andrew who had the seizures.
no, the one from my uncle.
Andrew, Rita, and Mary were the children of Uncle Andrew. 3 of them.
Okay, he said there were 2 boys and 2 girls.
Right. 2 girls and 2 boys. And Michael.
And
Semeka.
Michael Semeka.
Forgot him too.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so now Andrew passed away, the boy.
Yes.
No, the boy who passed away was Philip.
I thought it was Andre too.
No.
So there were 3 boys?
No,
Oh, he was Philip. He wasn't Andrew. I'm sorry.
that's right. It's
Andrew was.
2 boys, 2 girls from my uncle's side.
So there was no little boy named Andrew then?
The 2 girls were Mary and Rita. The 2 boys on my uncle's side were Michael first and Philip.
Okay.
Philip is the one who had the seizure. He's the one who passed away.
Okay, how old was he about?
I guess he had to be 17, 18 or something.
Okay, now Michael. Where is this? Now there's a Michael
Michael-
Semeka floating around somewhere?
Michael Semeka,
It's in
yes.
California.
Well, there's a good kid. He got involved in television. He is one of the first ones to put and make his own television set.
Okay,
In other words, in those days you can go out and buy a television,
but where's he living now?
or you can buy a kit to put one together.
California.
I'll get you.
He's divorced and remarried.
And Michael
Any kids?
ordered a kit. Big case come over to the house and
Oh, so he's
Following
got lots of
directions.
children,
following directions, Michael, he
Just
put
find
this
this out.
He put this kit together, put this television together, and I think it was a 10-inch television set. Then he went into business with my brother Sal, repairing and installing, selling televisions.
Okay.
Lasted about 2 or 3 years, I don't know.
Question.
Something like that.
Question now. Who's Mike Manginelli?
Michael Manginelli was my best man.
And who is he?
Lived right next door to me, 447 West 46th Street. He lived at 451, I believe.
Now, is this guy still single?
Michael had remained a bachelor as far as I know until about, 5 years ago we saw him, or 6 years ago. The last time we saw him, he still remains a bachelor.
Now, is there any possibility that Mike Manginelli is gay?
No.
No.
We were not. We were out pals together. No, he liked his girls.
Were you bosom buddies?
But, oh yeah, he was my best man for the wedding. But Michael just happened to be the kind of guy who, he was shy, there's no question about it. But he liked his freedom.
He did, huh?
He loved his freedom. He was he and I were probably the most dapper guys on that.
Well, I'm going to ask you now, in your own words, without any help from your wife,
Right.
what was your saddest moment as a child?
I think that was
That which being what?
watching my cousin Phil, who was epileptic, as I said, and watching his seizures, where nobody could do anything about it except make sure his tongue was sticking out.
Well, what were your parents like?
My parents were, they were good. They were good family people. Worked very hard. My father worked very hard. Boy, he
He was a barber?
came back from New Jersey, and once we resided on 46th Street, the first thing he did was to go out, and both of them, to go out and buy a barber shop. And they bought one. They bought the first locale, I think was on, I don't know, I think it was 41st Street, their first barber shop. And they, I guess they weren't doing the business, or they had a leave, or what, or the lease was expired, I have no idea. But they went to 9th Avenue on 38th Street, I think it was, and that's where they progressed very well and where they made money. Both of them together, co-owners. And
Your father and your father came over here over the boat with your brother?
yeah, they both came over together.
Just the two of them?
Just the two of them.
From where?
Just like my mother came over with a very good friend, by herself, but made friends with an Italian woman who was also by herself on the boat, and they became very good friends. And although we didn't live in the same house, her name was Miguelina. She always lived very, very close to my mother, you know, like 3 or 4 blocks away.
I want to ask you something. How old were your mother and father when they came over?
Well, as I said, my father was either 18 or 19, and my uncle was 2 years older. And my mother, I think, was about 20 when she came over.
So your mother came over first, or she's older than your father?
No, my father came over first.
Your father came over first?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how they met, but I think they met at a, you know, like a get together through friends. I think they met.
And where's your father and mother from?
My father is from Sicily, and my mother was from Bari. I think she was from Bari. But
Why did I think I had one grandparent was Sicilian, the other was Napolitan?
No, Napolitan. No, Bari.
Human days or buddies, right?
No, human days, forget.
So,
But my father was from Sicily. Oh yeah. And, they did very well. They,
But you don't know where your mom was from?
I think Bari. I'm not too sure. Well, I'll tell you, predominantly the island of Sicily was the island of Capri,
Right.
right next to it. You know what I mean? This was it, you know. But the other towns and provinces, whatever they called them in those days, were outside of Naples, outside of Rome. Where the Venice, of course, was very because of its water street feature type.
Right.
And they were well known. But my mother came from a small town.
Get to your mother. Good.
It's just like if you
Let's talk about your mom.
if you were to talk about coming here out in the island. When we first came out here, Baldwin was unheard of to me. All I knew was a small little town. But Rockville Center I knew.
Right.
I knew Freeport.
Right. I want to get to your mom. Your mom now, she was the stronger than your father as far as mentally and family wise.
No, my father was the predominant person.
He was.
Okay?
I didn't feel that.
My father was the predominant person. He's the one that made the decisions. He's the one that said we're going to move. He's the one that said we're going to stay. As far as spending matters, to buy what items and everything else.
Who was more of a parent to you, though? Who was?
To buy a TV set, to buy a piano, all these items. You had to definitely discuss all of this information, all of this with your father. Okay. My mother was a tremendous influence in getting all these things from my father.
Like a true woman is.
You follow me?
Yeah.
Because she believed in all these things. And my father would, of course, again, like I said, from the old school, who figured that as much money as you could make, you wanted to save for that so-called rainy day. And I believe in the same thing too. So,
But didn't you have to wasn't your mom the one you had to deal with mostly as far as the parent?
all the time. 99% of the house since my father, percent of the time since my father was away at work for maybe anywhere from 10 to 12 hours per day. You had to deal with my mother.
Now she was a tough cookie, wasn't she?
She was a tough cookie. And you knew how to toe the line. If you didn't toe the line, she would get to you. I mean, matter of fact, she broke my arm right here. Never was able to pitch a ball as well with a broomstick.
Why'd you do that?
Why did she? Well, I guess I did something wrong, which was not right, you know. And then I do remember running around the kitchen table, and she could never get me until one day she realized if she got the broom, she could swing at me even though I was running around the kitchen table.
And you did something wrong, and you got hit over the elbow with a broom, and you don't remember what it was you did, huh?
Oh yeah, he accused of something.
No, that wasn't the one where I got accused of stealing. No. I guess I just either come home late or stayed out late. I was the black sheep of the family. So I guess it had to be something bad because I had to take a stick to me. My father would take a strap to me.
Wow.
And you know what a strap is?
Oh yeah, leather.
That's a leather
That they
strap.
did for a barbershop strap.
Yay long.
They would even sharpen their blades with it, wouldn't they?
That's the ones. They sharpened the
Straight razor.
straight razor. Yeah.
And there's little Anthony. Okay, interrupting Anthony's interview. Back to Anthony now.
Yes.
Teenage years. Tell me about them.
Teenage years, wonderful years.
Tell me about them. Did you get a high school diploma? Did you graduate high school?
Now I'm going to tell you a funny story about that. My oldest brother graduated. I was going to the High School of Commerce, same school Garrick graduated from, who was a great idol in those days. First baseman Lou Garrick. Everybody knows him as a movie today as the Pride of the Yankees. I was at that high school. I was in the 8th grade, my senior year high school.
8th, just as far as they went?
Oh, let me see. They called that the 12th. I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought so.
The 12th. I was in my senior year of high school. In the meantime, unbeknownst to anyone in my family, my younger brother, who was going to high school, just starting, or first year or two, we received a letter one day from the school stating that your brother hadn't been to school for 32 or 33 days or something like that. Well, of course, I didn't believe it. My mother and father didn't believe it. So my father went to school and found out, indeed, he had not been to school for that long. In other words, he had played the hook, which is the same thing as being AWOL. So what happened here was, my father went to school with him, and as I said, he was a very tough man. The minute he found out from the school that it was true, he said, you're out of school, which means he imputed the offense of one to both of us.
Now wait a minute, were you playing the hook?
Never played the hook in my life. Never played the hook in my life. Always went to school. I loved school, I loved the education. As a matter of fact, I got so good at it, I think everybody knows, I never even did any homework home. I started to when I was...
Is that where I got that from?
And, but I did all my work in school and never took my books home, put in my locker, and didn't have to carry like all the other kids, all the books home, all the books back and forth, and do the homework for 2 or 3 hours home. I did it all in school because as the teacher talked, I made notes, and as the teacher talked and I made notes, which I think is the best way to, but the kids in those days, you just used to listen. But I used to make notes of everything. And consequently, I did all my homework in school. And as I said, I enjoyed school because it was very educational. I wanted to learn. I wanted to know as much as I could. So, I never played the hook. But needless to say, getting back to the story, my father became so angry that he pulled us both out of school. Okay? And when he pulled us both out of school, I think I had about 2 months before I would have graduated, but my father didn't care. So with that in mind, we had to go out and get a job, both of us. Whereas my younger brother, I think he started shining shoes. Or I think I did it too. I think we both shined shoes outside of his barber shop.
I knew you were DJing for a while there.
Outside of his barber shop. This is when I left school. When outside of his barber shop. And then from there I shined shoes.
The backward stages.
And yes, I got. I found a better location, which was on 46th Street, 8th Avenue. 8th Avenue, and I used to shine shoes outside there. And then from shining shoes outside there, a couple of the performers and comics used to tell me to come in the back, walk up the stairs outside the building and come into the third floor. And that's where we were, that's their dressing rooms and everything else. And then I would shine their shoes up there. And that was very, very good. In those days you shine shoes for 5 cents, 10 cents, and they'd give you a tip. And I used to get 25 cents a pair of shoes up there. So and then I started shining the shoes of all the girls that worked over there, all the striptease. And I made very good money there. In the meantime, I latched on to the Hartley House, which was on 46th Street, and just off of 9th Avenue, but still on 46th Street, just before 9th Avenue. And they wanted to put together a little dance for maybe once or twice a week. The Hartley House was a place, a community house, where young fellas were able to come up there, join any one of 3 clubs that existed, and it was your age bracket. The youngest club was the Crusaders, that's what my brother Sal belonged to. The medium club was the Vikings, that's the one that I belonged to. And the oldest group was the Lancers, which is the one my oldest brother belonged to. Okay? And you had, in addition, they gave you a place that if you wanted to have a party, they also had a separate place outside that went all the way up to the roof of the building, which had a gymnasium, and we therefore each had basketball teams. And on the ground floor in the back, they had another studio, which we were allowed to use for meeting nights. So we met there on Tuesday, the Vikings. The Crusaders, the younger group, met there on Mondays, and the Lancers, the older group, met there on Fridays. Gotcha. They had that whole building. It was a beautiful building with a ping pong table, a pool table, and big enough to hold a meeting. Plus an upstairs balcony where you had chairs where you could loll around and sit down and enjoy watching them.
Boy, I forgot what the question was now.
Okay.
Tell Aunt, how were your teenage years?
Wait a second. Now, all of this was going on at this building. So when they decided that they wanted to run the dances, I stepped in and said that I would do the DJ work there.
Now we're getting into it, okay.
Well, that's all they had to show why I was able to be the one to do it. And so I did DJ work there.
Okay.
And we used to charge 10 cents for admission. And the only drinks you could buy was sodas. Okay, and you were carefully searched to make sure you weren't bringing any beer or any alcohol drinks. And in those days, none of us were too interested in any alcohol anyway. But then it ballooned. It really grew. It grew to a steady Saturday night out. We did it on Saturday night in our place. It grew so much that 1 mile down the road to my right, another place opened up on Sunday nights, and then approximately 2 miles going uptown, another place opened up on Friday night. So we were really a threesome group that all of us used to go to. Saturday night was at my place.
Gotcha.
And so forth. And by now, we were swelling our crowds up to capacity like 110, 140 people, and we were now charging, I think, 20 cents or 25 cents. So they started paying me to do this. So at first they paid me $10 a week, and out of there I would supply my own records, and I would listen to Martin Block telling the story about the new releases that were coming out that week, and I, in my mind, would judge the records and go out and buy it. 35 cents per record.
Wow.
And I'm happy to say I was one of the first ones to have the recording of Artist Shaw's Begin to Begin, which became a #1 seller for about 20 or 25 weeks in a row. It was a tremendous hit. And I purchased it from Martin Block, listening to his show of the brand new releases.
Well, let me ask you another question.
Sure.
When did your wife start coming into the picture? How'd you meet her?
Yeah.
Well, doing the DJ work, I did that steady. Then I worked down the tunnel. Then I
worked on the tunnel?
I worked down the tunnel, and then okay. Then I went to work. Yeah, I worked on a tunnel. It's a different story. I went to work for a company called Hill Novelties. Hill Novelties was owned by a German immigrant and his wife. Could hardly speak English. They got to me. They explained everything to me by mostly sign language and broken down English, but I understood what they meant. Okay, and I was in charge of the production line. Made I think it was about $35 a week there, which was excellent in those days. And a co-worker was George Roth, who was in charge of all the machinery and the setups and everything else like that. A man of about 10 years older than me, who lived out here in Lynbrook, a town that I never heard of, while we still lived in the city. At this time, I think Ginger and I lived in the apartment house, maybe? Ginge? I think we lived in the apartment house at this time, having moved from my mother's house to a very first apartment.
Oh, wait a minute now. You're skipping a lot. How did you meet your wife?
I'm going to tell you. Wait a minute, that's right. You're right. Okay, you're right. Okay, you're absolutely right. I haven't even met her yet. Having worked there, we worked in this building, okay? Ginge happened to work on the second floor of the building where Hill Novels was located, okay? Which happened to be in the downtown, I forgot the street right now.
Don't matter.
Downtown New York, okay? But what happened, the company decided to move. While Ginge was working downstairs, I became friends with her. She got the job upstairs, okay? She got a job upstairs working. Now we're working together. The company moved from there to Brooklyn, 3941 Bristol Street in Brooklyn. We all moved out there, okay? Once we're out there, we progressed, and as I said, that's where I met her. And it was from there that I told my boss that I was going to open up my own business, and I intended to open up a shoe store. By this time I had saved a good bundle of money. That's exactly. I informed my boss that I was going to leave. 2 weeks notice. Went home for the weekend. Came back a Monday morning to have my boss tell me, you can't leave. What I'd like to see you do is maybe buy this company, and if you buy this company out, I could now be a salesman, and we could work together on it, which I thought was a great idea. I was 23 years old at the time. Mr. Roth, who, as I said, was in charge of the machinery in the company, came over to me and said, how about if we do it together? And we did. We bought the company out. I guess about a year later, we bought the company out in 1946, right? Got married in 1947 to my wife, who was now working for me. Okay?
So you only dated your wife for about a year before you got married?
No, we worked actually longer. Because now the company had moved. We were in. I guess we were there maybe about a year and a half.
Well, how'd you meet your wife? At the office?
No, at the other place, just walking around or whatever. I forgot, but we just met, okay?
Was it one of these like attraction things, love at first?
Yeah.
Was it love at first sight, or was it?
Things like, where you see each other, and then after you see each other 3 or 4 times, you know them. So you start saying hello, and you start talking and things like that. You know what I mean? Because we're in the same building. We're going into the same building all the time.
Were you like dating lots of women at the time?
Oh, yeah, I had my own girlfriends, actually. An Italian girl who I thought I was going to
Alma.
But these are other stories. This thing could go on and on.
Well, you have some long answers you give.
If you're trying to explain something, like you say, where did we meet? I can't say. I guess I could tell you that we met at work, but that wouldn't really tell the true story. And then we got married. Lived with my lived with my brother, who was already married, who lived now 2 streets away from 447 West 46th Street, on 44th Street. They had an apartment on 44th Street. We lived with them for about 4 or 5 months. And then we moved back to my mother and father's apartment. And then my cousin Michael, who I told you before, was married. They checked out an apartment in Astoria, where you had to buy the apartment, you had to buy the furniture. You rented the apartment, but you had to buy all the contents in the house, about $1,500. It happened to be a night where I was very, very sick, in bed, in my mother's house, that my cousin came back from checking out the apartment and said he wasn't going to take it because he didn't have the finances to buy it. And by the way, the apartment house, the people who were selling for only one reason. The husband had passed away, and I knew the husband and I knew the wife. I didn't know this until my cousin came back and told me that it happened to be Bill Romanello who passed away. And I said, oh my God, you know them? He said, yeah. So I was talking to his wife. So my cousin, upon telling me he wasn't taking it, I spoke to Ginge, my wife, and I said, I think we ought to go take a look at it because I can buy it. And so we did. I got dressed, absolutely sick, got dressed, called her up on the phone, told her we're coming over, could we see it? She said, absolutely, went over there. And because we knew each other well, they gave us the apartment for $1,200 as opposed to $1,500. And we bought all the furniture.
So you own this now?
So now I own all the furniture. I didn't own the apartment. I owned the furniture. I still go through the landlord to renew my lease.
Okay.
The apartment, who happened to have a store on Steinway Street.
What did you used to call your wife? You had a little pet name for her.
I used to call her Jim.
No, you never called her Ginge. I gave her that name.
No, Stinky Martin.
She was Stinky Martin?
Yeah, Stinky Martin.
And what was your name?
Well, because they used to call me Martin Block. When I did my DJ work, the Hotley House, they used to, and most of the people from the other day used to call me Martin Block, take off from Martin Block on the radio. Hey, look who's here.
Hey, what's up? Okay.
And look at it, carrying a mince pie.
No.
I mean, a pumpkin pie. Yes.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
Oh. So go ahead. I thought it was Kid Martin though. How did you get from Martin Block to Kid Martin?
I was Kid Martin. She was Stinky Martin.
So what,
I said, you asked me what we were called.
yeah, but you said Martin Block they used to call you.
A takeoff.
Oh, okay.
Okay, from Martin Block, though, and so they started calling me Kid Martin. And my wife was Stinky Martin. Okay. But not until much later.
But I heard a lot of stories about your wedding day, like you were playing stickball. What was that all about?
That's absolutely true.
Tell me about that.
We got married, and of course, as I said, we had a stickball team on 46th Street. We had a very good stickball team on 46th Street, and we'd play other teams from other neighborhoods, other streets, and we'd play them for $5 or $10 per man.
God, time out. There's one microphone. It doesn't know where to pick up, so let's watch our voices here, okay? Thanks. Go ahead, Ant. I'm sorry.
We're going to do this for a few minutes more. We've been doing this for a half hour already.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yes, we played stickball, and we would play teams from other streets. And they would say, okay, we'll challenge you, we'll challenge you. They either challenge us or we challenge them. And you always play for $5 or $10 per man. Team of 8, 9 guys with a team against them of 9 guys.
Bottom line was, you were really late. What was going on?
So what happened was I was the third baseman on the team. And although we had chosen we were going to get married that day, we had a stickball game that day. And the church ceremonies was, I think we used to play the game at 1 o'clock, and I think the church ceremony started at 3 o'clock. And of course, as the thing would have it, the game would start getting a little tight. And I had hoped to get the game. The game, most games used to be over by an hour and a half. We had, and it started to get tight, and then all of a sudden the score was tied.
Let me get this straight though. You knew you were getting married at 3 o'clock.
Yes, I still played.
And at 1 o'clock you figure, what the hell? The games are only an hour and a half.
Right.
That'll make it 1 to 2:30. I'll still give me a half an hour to get ready for my wedding.
Play. Absolutely. We had to be at church at 3 o'clock. I could still play, and we did. But the game, and I figured by 2 o'clock we would be finished. Instead, the game went late because of overtime, extra innings. And I guess I played until about 20 after 2 when the game was finally over. And everybody up at my apartment, and it was right outside my house, incidentally. Right outside my house. We were playing right out in the street, right in front of my house. And so everybody had me all upstairs, everything was ready. My tux was here. We had a single room toilet and tub, you know. Everybody, the doors were wide open for me. Everything was all set, thanks to my mama, okay? Who was blowing her stack, but she knew how serious this thing was for me, okay? My father was absolutely out of his head, but being a true sportsman, all you had to do to get my father was to get him involved in the game or whatever, and you had him. You had him wrapped up. Pool hall, bowling alley, anything, you had him wrapped up. So anyway, within 15 minutes, Michael, I was out and dressed and everything else. Got to church, we were 10 minutes late.
Oh, jeez. Okay?
But I got there 10 minutes late. Everything was fine. The church was beautifully decorated. Church was on 5 blocks away on 36th Street. No, 10 blocks away, I'm sorry. Off of 10th Avenue. It was an Italian church. Their ceremonies were said in Italian, strictly Italian. And it was beautifully decorated because they had just got through celebrating a feast in which they had the choir from Italy singing there that day. So our church, for that particular occasion, in the books, you've seen it in my wedding album, you see all those beautiful pictures of the church. But it was a beautiful ceremony, and unlike most people, we did not stay outside and form a line. We came out of church, got into the limousine, and came right over to my house where the party reception was.
Now, I know you were married for 2 years before you moved here.
Yes.
Oh no, you were married 2 years before you got Maria.
No, I'm sorry. We lived, as I said, we moved to that Astoria apartment house, and we were married approximately 2 years.
Then you had Maria.
We had Maria, and incidentally, the apartment house was on the 5th floor. You had to walk out.
Now, was Maria
was born
where?
At Horace Harding Hospital.
Hospital.
Which was, what's the name of the hospital, Horace Harding, B? I didn't think it was Harding.
That's all right, we'll ask her later.
Yes, she was born there. I haven't been, we were, that particular night when she was born, I was up all night. She got me up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, went to the hospital, and I think somewhere around 7:30, 8 o'clock, everybody was telling me, don't stay, you have to go to work, you know, and remember, I had my own business and I had own people, we had about 30 people at that time working for us, and so I left. And but by the time I left and went to Brooklyn to my shop, I got a phone call stating that my wife had a baby girl.
So you really weren't even there then?
So I was not at the hospital when Maria was born.
Wow.
No.
But now you were a real great dad to Maria.
So
I mean, like, you were so in love. Did you expect a boy or girl? What'd you think?
Well, I was looking for a boy, but it didn't. I wasn't too disappointed that it was a girl. I mean, that's one of those things I think most fathers to be for the first time, I think, prefer a boy. And but if it's a girl, it's not going to affect it that much. You know, my feelings were.
Now let's talk about 5 years down the road. What happened?
Okay, now 5 years down the road, we now, of course, lived in the apartment house. From the apartment house, my father moved out to the Astoria from 447 West 46th Street, moved out to Astoria, bought a house.
Right.
And when he bought the house with the intention that I would move from my Astoria apartment to that house. My brother, who, as I said, lived on 44th Street in New York City, 2 blocks away from my mother in New York City, would move over there. And my youngest brother, when he got married, would move in there. It was a large, huge 4-family house.
And that's exactly what you guys did.
So that's exactly what we did. The first one, as I said, my father bought the house, moved in there. Then my brother Phil moved in second, moved on the first floor. Up the first, the apartment had one on the ground level on each side, one level up on each side. And my father moved to the ground level on the right side. My brother Phil moved in, took the first flight up on the left side. And so when I moved in, I moved one flight up on the right side.
So you and Phil were upstairs, and your father and your little brother Sal were
My father was
downstairs.
downstairs, and meantime the other apartment on the left side was being occupied by relatives, which my father said to stay there. When he first bought the house, you're going to be the last out because my youngest son is going to get married, and that's his apartment. And this was down the road.
Your youngest brother.
My youngest brother, right.
Now let me ask something. Donna was born in that house, right? Or in the
Now, we
hospital?
lived over there, and my wife became pregnant again, and this was 5 years, almost to the month, that my first child was born, Maria. And again, we went to the hospital, we stayed there, and my wife did not conceive, and
Deliver.
did not deliver. And so I was over at the, we were down in my mother's house, down in the basement, the play area, when I got word that I had a second child, and again, it was a girl.
So you weren't at the hospital again?
No, not at that time, because I was downstairs. I was there all the time.
But now Ginge had Donna in a hospital?
So then I was informed that I had a girl again.
Now you went to the hospital.
Here
Go ahead.
is where I was disappointed. Here is where I blew my stack. Here is where I was very annoyed and very angry.
Angry?
Yes, because I definitely wanted a boy the second time, the second child. But Donna was born.
Now what did Donna look like?
Now, since that Donna was born, Donna looked, well, she had a little trouble in exiting. She had a little trouble, and so in pushing her out, her head became oval shaped. And so she definitely had a peak to her, you know, especially if you looked on the side of her.
Now, I remember you denying her being your child or something.
Yeah, well, something like that.
So,
I guess it had to be a joke or something.
a joke?
It had to be a joke or something along the line. I said, that can't be my child.
Here.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I asked him, I said, are you sure that's my kid? I said, yeah, that's your kid. Upon going to the hospital and seeing her in the crib. So that was Donna being born. And that was in my parents' home.
Now was Donna born in the house?
No.
Okay.
Well, that was Horace Harding too then?
No, Astoria General.
Astoria.
But Maria was Horace Harding, huh?
Right.
So now there was a third child 5 years down the road. Now a lot happened in between. You bought this house.
Down the road, okay, now we lived, as I said, my brother got married, my youngest brother got married. He moved into the apartment downstairs on the ground level opposite my father. And I guess we lived there for about 5 years, and my wife decided that we should go out to the island to buy a summer bungalow.
This was Ginger's idea to come to the island to buy a summer bungalow.
Exactly.
And you, being a good husband,
said, okay, it is a great idea, okay, because I did believe in it too. I wanted it too, okay. I was tired of city life and everything else and so forth. So the thing why we came out, the reason why we came to the North Shore, and the reason why we found the place on the North Shore was quite simple. When we lived in the apartment in Astoria, when Marie was born, we made friends with a couple, John and his wife, and we made friends with them. When we moved to my parents' house, they moved out to the island, and they rented a big house, but they rented it in Rockville Center. And from there, maybe every 2 weekends, every 3 weekends, my wife and I would pack the kids up and come out and see them.
now this is the South Shore now.
This is the South Shore. That's why I'm telling you the reason why we picked the South Shore.
Oh, you said North Shore before.
No, South Shore. And we did this, and coming out here, the only island, any part of the island I knew was coming out to the South Shore to see my friend Johnny. So when my wife told me that she would like to buy a summer bungalow, I naturally traveled the same route, South Shore wise, to Rockville Center. And having seen no real estates, as far as Rockville Center on Sunrise Highway or Merritt Road, although I think it was Sunrise Highway, when we came to visit Johnny, we took the Merrick Road and started going out to the island first to check out real estate. And that's how I checked out Merrick Road. The following town after Aqua Center was Oceanside. Didn't see anything in Oceanside. Drove a little bit further and we hit a town called Baldwin. Never heard of the town. But on the left-hand side was a movie house. The movie house, I took notice of the movie house, and right next to it was a real estate. We went into the real estate, and the real estate showed us a house in Oceanside, showed us another house in Baldwin up north, showed us a few houses around the area, but then also showed us the area that I now reside in, because it was an area that new homes were going up, and maybe you may want to look at them. Take a look at those too. So we came down here and we saw the model on Hastings Street, on Berry Lane. And my wife liked that model very, very much, okay? But we did nothing. Then maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, we decided to take another trip out the island to look for a summer bungalow. And again, we'd go a little bit further, we'd see another real estate, they would show us houses in Massapequa, and here and there and every place else, and my wife always said, Ginge always said, I like the house in Baldwin, the model. I like the model. So we kept comparing all the way out as far as Massapequa. We checked houses, almost bought the house of Primo Carnero's manager, okay, like a huge, humongous home. Probably today I wish
Rockville Center, right?
Yes. I probably wish I would have bought that house. I mean, that house has got to be the biggest house, biggest property I ever seen. So, having today,
Well, you bought this house. You decided on this
anyway,
one.
forget that. So, my wife telling me all the time, comparing every house, every model we saw to this house, I told her, sweetheart, that is not a summer bungalow. That is a huge, humongous house. It's got 5 levels to it. She said, I don't care, I want that house. I said, well, if we buy that house, we're going to have to move. We cannot live here with the parents, so we're going to have to move. And she said, I want that house. I said, okay, fine. The very next weekend, came out here, gave a deposit on the house. The guy said, which property do you want? And I went all the way around the corner to Hastings Street, right into the end of the farm. This was the end of the farm. Big fence over here, and I said, that's my house, put it right here. And that's where I am residing today, 838 Hastings Street. Okay?
Good story.
And from 838 Hastings Street is where my 3rd child was born.
Boy, this one better be a boy.
This one had better be a boy. In celebration and lo and behold, this one was a boy. And cameraman, that's where you were born. That's where you came from. So at the 3 locations where we lived, the 3 locations each produced a child.
Pretty interesting story. And now you got a bunch of grandchildren?
Today we have 6 grandchildren.
Unbelievable.
And today is Thanksgiving, which we are celebrating with we also have my oldest grandchild here with his girlfriend, Michelle.
Unbelievable.
My oldest grandchild, Wayne, where are you?
And your youngest.
Where are you, Wayne?
And your oldest.
Here he is, my oldest grandchild, Wayne.
And your youngest right here.
Okay.
I'm the youngest right there. Look at that. Generation to generation.
Oh, geez, this one's eating for a change.
And that's my oldest grandchild's girlfriend, Michelle. Pan all the way over to your right.
I got it.
You got it?
Oh, I'm slick.
Oh,
He's getting to the mirror shot. That's what he's doing. He's trying to be smooth about it.
So he can get himself in on that too.
We need you.
Well, this was a real interesting interview.
My youngest grandchild is right there, Anthony.
We got
With
Anthony.
my newest daughter-in-law, Allison.
No, Allison's beautiful.
I'm going for my boob away.
Gotchi,
And
how are
Anthony's
you?
looking right at me as we speak. Look at him.
He's still got a
Hi.
mouthful of
How are
food.
you, baby?
He's still got a mouthful of food.
His name is Anthony John. We here in Baldwin, of course they come from Georgia, you see, but we here in Baldwin call him Bruno Sammartino. That's Big Bruno.
Think of
Grandma's
that.
tired.
Good.
Well, I tell you, this was a real interesting interview. Any closing statements you'd like to make, Anthony?
Closing statements.
Yeah, anything you'd like to say about anything here you want on tape?
The best statement I can make right now is the fact that I am very happy that I have grandchildren from all of my kids. Anthony John, a future generation, was right there.
So he's not the last one to carry on the Seneca name. Right? There's another Seneca in California.
But not in
Yeah,
this
my son, my
immediate
cousin
family.
is. But I'm talking about from my side of the family.
There's only
There's
girls,
a
so they
Seneca
said
right there.
Polly had a
That
boy,
makes
I'm
me
not
feel
sure.
good. I would say that all my kids are happily married, all have beautiful kids. I enjoy them probably as much as I enjoyed my kids growing up.
More so. Because we can give these
There was
back.
talk about going out to Georgia, to live out in Georgia, and I said I would probably go to Georgia. I would not go under these conditions, but I probably would go to Georgia if my two girls and their families who live out here on the island decided they wanted to go to Georgia. I would tag along with them, and we would all go to Georgia. But otherwise, we stay here.
Well, this has been a beautiful interview. I want to thank you, Anthony, for your time, and we'll be visiting with your wife sometime during this day or maybe tomorrow. Thank you very much for your beautiful words of wisdom.
You're quite welcome.
See you later.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Grandma's got to put the horses' dirts out.